Just 1 second. All right, good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome everyone who is watching or following along. I am Will Driscoll, the Executive Director of the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. And again, although sports are on an indefinite hiatus, there are still plenty of interesting stories and figures out there and people to talk to. I think that's the biggest thing that we're doing right now is we're finding people to talk to kind of keep the love of sports alive. And so while so many things are on this COVID-19 break, we're lucky that we're able to create content such as this. Now, you can see there's a bit of a different backdrop this week from previous weeks. We had some storms roll through yesterday. There were some power outages, some internet problems. So I'm actually not in the office. I'm actually in my dining room right now, which has also turned into a news set. My wife works in local news. So there's all sorts of things happening in the Driscoll household. But today, we're thrilled to be joined by the Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of the Richmond Flying Squirrels, Todd Parney. Of course, many of you up in that area probably know him as just Parney. I think they don't even know your first name. But the Flying Squirrels are the AA affiliate for the San Francisco Giants. And Parney is actually a three-time winner of the Eastern League's Executive of the Year, including just last season in 2019. So Parney, thanks for taking the time out to join us today.
Good morning. My pleasure to be with you. Appreciate you and hope everybody's doing well and staying as safe and positive as we can in these surreal and unimaginative times.
Positivity is key right now, that's for sure. And if you need some positivity, be sure to follow Parney on Twitter at @TweetParney, and you can also follow the Flying Squirrels at @GoSquirrels. Of course, this is on Facebook Live, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask us. You can also email me, and I'll try to get those questions on with Parney. Now, this Thursday was supposed to be opening day for you guys at the Diamond. What does opening day mean to you from a baseball standpoint? You've been in baseball many, many years. When you hear the words opening day, what does it mean to you?
Christmas. It's Christmas morning. It's a very special day. Like it's an emotional day for all of us, especially in Richmond. Richmond has been such a special place to us, and we've sold out every home opener, and it's just been real special. We usually bring in a celebrity first pitch participant, and it's just a special day. So it means the world to us. Not having it go on this April is it hurts, but we decided as a staff that we're going to choose positivity during these times, and we came up with an idea to hopefully do some good. And our donations are blowing off the hook here this morning, so we're really excited about what we're going to do on Thursday, and I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit later. But to answer your question, opening day in the Parnell household is absolutely positively a holiday, and it's one of the top 3 or 4 or 5 days in a year, and we're going to miss it, but hopefully we're still going to have it this year. And whether it's opening day on April 16th or opening day on June the whatever, or opening day on July the 1st, whatever it might be, opening day at the Diamond in Richmond is still going to be a special activity.
Well, I think opening day really kind of has that special feel. One, it's baseball. It's a long season. You have the season goes into the fall, and then spring training comes around February. But baseball is such a familial sport that you have to be introduced to it by somebody, whether it's a parent, a brother, a sister, a sibling, a grandparent. Somebody introduces you to the game. So there's always kind of that shared feeling or emotion when opening day rolls around. In all of your years in baseball, is there one memory that sticks out? And you've been not just here in Richmond, but up in Altoona, which I spent some time in the Johnstown area. So I remember the BCB very well.
There you go.
Altoona, Myrtle Beach, Kannapolis, you've been everywhere. Is there one memory that sticks out?
Well, there's some personal memories and there's some professional memories. I mean, we're really proud of the 10 consecutive sellouts, and this would have been our 11th. And we were motoring. I mean, that's one of the things. Just when you think you're awesome, something like this happens, and God surely knows how to keep us humble. But I think for me personally, in 2016, Jerome Bettis came and threw out the first pitch at the Diamond. He has no connection to Richmond, no connection to the Squirrels. other than my 20-year friendship with him. And he and I and his business manager, Jamal Dokes, were playing golf on New Year's Day in Scottsdale, Arizona. And we went out to dinner that night. We were sitting at the bar eating, and he just turned to me and said, "When's opening day in Richmond?" And I told him, and then he looked at Jamal and said, "Check the schedule." And Jamal put on his phone, and then he looked at me and goes, "We'll be there." And I looked at him and I said, "Did I invite you?" But it was real special for me because that was just a personal favor that he wanted to do. And there's so many Steeler fans all across the world.
Yeah.
And people really got into it. So that's one. 1 year in Altoona, I was going to bring in, and Jerome was here that night too in Altoona because he was one of our owners. But I was going to parachute the first pitch in, and I was going to do a tandem thing, and that was when I had my first weight gain. So I literally missed doing it because I had gained too much weight. And the front lines of the front page of the Altoona Mirror sports section said, "Too many cheeseburgers, grounds Parney." So those are two things that come off the top of my head. But it's the excitement in the locker room for the players. It's the autographs that the players sign for the kids. It's the smiles on everybody's faces, whether it's a worker, a fan, a media member. I mean, this opening night affects everybody, just like COVID-19 affects everybody. Opening night affects everybody. And I'm sure there's many more memories to come. There's a couple of snow days in Altoona on opening day that I remember that were quite interesting.
I think I covered one of those. Truthfully, I was working for the Fox 8 affiliate up there out of Johnstown.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I covered one of the snow days.
What was the guy? The guy that I'll come up. Well, next time I see you, there was the guy that ran that station. His name's on the tip of my tongue. Jim Pastor.
Jim Penna. Jim Penna was our news director.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about that when it's just me and you. We won't bore everybody on Facebook.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, there was a snowstorm one year. Our player J.J. Davis was our right fielder. He was doing snow angels in right field. So one of these days, I'm going to end up writing a book about my life in minor league baseball called Blood, Sweat, and Beers, My Life in Minor League Baseball. And those will be some of the stories that will be in the book. Minor
league baseball really is a beast unto itself. But as far as Richmond's concerned, one thing that I learned this week was obviously the city and the baseball franchise, whether it was the Braves prior or the Squirrels since Flying Squirrels since 2010, there's always been this connection. But this Friday is actually the 35th anniversary of the first game at the Diamond. Kind of talk about the connection between just baseball and the city of Richmond.
Wonderful. When the Braves left, there were a lot of teams that wanted to move to Richmond, and we were Lou DiBella was chosen by Eastern League President Joe McCather and minor league baseball CEO Pat O'Connor, and Chuck Domino was brought into the mix, the guy who hired me back in Reading in 1989, and I was fortunate to be involved, and it's a great city. Period. Love Richmond, and as far as the history goes, in our office we have pictures of Mickey Mantle playing an exhibition game. And you can feel it in the Diamond and the names that have gone through Richmond through the years. With the Braves, there was a Sports Illustrated picture of Chipper Jones laying on a couch in the Diamond when he played here as a 19-year-old. So much history and so many memories. You mentioned, Will, that people are drawn to baseball by somebody. They're connected to baseball by somebody. And if I had $1 for every time somebody says, "My daddy used to take me to games at Parker Field here in Richmond," or "My daddy used to take me to Richmond Virginians play here in Richmond," or "My grandpa took me to this." So many family memories have been made in Richmond, and that's why I think baseball in Richmond means so much to people, because it brings those memories. We make memories, but we also bring memories back to people, and I think that's something that's really important. But I couldn't be happier than being in Richmond. I think we made a real difference in Richmond. One of our goals when we got here was not to just be a baseball team, but to be a real thriving year-round entity in Richmond. And what we're going to do on Thursday is another good example of us not necessarily wanting to be a baseball team, but us wanting to be an integral fabric of the community. And I think that's what we've become through the years.
And we're going to touch on that in just a minute, but I want to kind of continue on that line with the connection between the city. Going from AAA to AA, the headline says you're demoted, but yet you guys have been pumping through attendance, leading the league in average attendance, total attendance, year after year after year. How are you keeping the fans engaged during this period of uncertainty? I mean, you mentioned it's just surreal. We don't know what the end date is, what the start date is. So how are you keeping people engaged?
Well, our whole staff has been phenomenal, and I love these people with all my heart. They're our family away from our family, and I mean that. It's emotional. I mean, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. But Caroline Phipps is our social media director, and when we saw this coming, and when I mean we saw this coming, it was when the NBA suspended operations. I think for all of us in sports, that was the moment.
That was it.
That was the moment.
Yeah.
That was when Kennedy got shot. That's when, that was when the man went on the moon. Like, when I think back to COVID-19, I'm going to think about when I was upstairs. I just gotten home from work. It was March the 11th or whatever it was. And we were rolling, man. Tickets were flying out of the Diamond. And I got home and I was starting to get concerned because Ed McLaughlin, the VCU athletic director, is one of my best friends. Sean Stifford, the VCU baseball coach, is one of my best friends. Mike Rhodes, VCU, a great friend. Chris Mooney at Richmond, a great friend. All these guys were in the media because stuff was starting to happen. We're going to have the rest of the spring season. I think the Ivy League canceled their spring season. There were things that were starting to happen. Then I went upstairs and I flipped on the TV, and it was on the NBA network for some reason. And the first thing I saw was 9:31. You can look up the timing of this. I think I'm right. It was 9:31 Eastern, and the host, who I didn't even recognize who it was reading a statement saying how the NBA was suspending operations, and I started crying. And Tanya said, "Why are you crying?" And I said, "Because the sports world is going to change on a dime tomorrow." And then that's when it all happened. And it's just like the minor league baseball world stopped. Stopped. And we've had to adjust. And one of the things that Lou DiBella said to us on a conference call 2 days after that was, we're great community connectors. We have to figure out ways to connect to the community during what's going to be a real different time. And that was an understatement, by the way. And so Caroline Phipps, Anthony Opperman, Nick Elder, we call them Creative Corner. They're the people that know how to do all these fancy things with buttons and stuff. And Bailey Johnson, our community relations person, they all got together and they developed a campaign that was primarily social media, but not exclusively, that has really affected the community. Things like Nutsy going out and being visible, but not touchable to kids when they pick up their school lunches in the inner city. Anything we can do, Nutsy going to senior homes and waving to the seniors through the windows. Anything that we can do to bring a smile to people's faces, because that's what we are. We're a community light during a real dark time.
You mentioned the NBA. We actually talked with last week on one of these interviews. We talked with Bob Rathbun, who's the voice of the Atlanta Hawks.
Oh, wow.
And he mentioned, he's one of our inductees, and he mentioned that was just such a dark day, like you said, because you mentioned it's going to stop on a dime, and it did. This wasn't a gradual stop. This was everything. And that's not just sports, but that sports is the world that we live in. So that's the world that we connect to. That's where our emotional connections are. And so it's been a very strange transition, and hopefully one that we can get out of here in the near future. But the main reason why I wanted to bring you on today was you're doing something really cool at the Diamond. As we mentioned, Thursday is supposed to be opening day, was supposed to be opening day. But you have a nice little initiative that you're doing to kind of raise money and bring awareness to a lot of the COVID-19 relief efforts going on in Richmond. So rather than me telling people about it, why don't you tell people about the 500 Bases of Love?
Well, one of the things that our wonderful staff brainstormed was for opening day, April 16th. And I forget what the trigger moment was, but long story short, one of the things, and we all deal with this differently, right? Well, like I've never been through a pandemic. You've never been through a pandemic.
First time.
My 85-year-old aunt Shirley in North Carolina has never been through a pandemic. I mean, it's nuts. So we all have to deal with in different ways. One of the things that I've done is I always exercise is always the thing on my things to do list during my crazy work day at the Squirrels that gets tossed aside a lot. So I've missed one day of working out since the pandemic started on March the 11th or whatever it was. So I was thinking, how can we combine something that I'm passionate about with opening day? And then I thought, okay, well, my buddy Greg Coleman, who's the president of the Erie Seawolves, when he worked for the Trenton Thunder, he raised money by running around the bases 500 times because his son was diagnosed with autism and he wanted to raise money for autism. I did the math on that. Non-starter for me at 54 years old and in a medium fat sized body. I wasn't interested in 500 times, but I also did the math. First base, second base, third base, home, 125 times 4 is 500. Dennis Bickmeyer is a great friend of ours from Richmond Raceway. 500 had a nice 500 had a nice ring to it. And we talk about love a lot, and so we just connected the 500 Bases of Love. And we wanted to do something that would make the fans feel like they were connected to us on what is normally a very special day. And by the way, I think this day is still going to be special. And so we developed a way through our GiveSmart platform where people could donate $25 and be a base sponsor virtually. So when I touch the base, I'll mention the name of the sponsor. Hannah DeFrank, who runs our Flying Squirrels charities, will have a whole list of people that I need to thank. It's basically going to be like a 3-hour walking Parney telethon with me walking around the bases and being hooked up with a microphone on my headset and just talking. I don't know if it's going to be great viewing, Will, but it'll be something. But we want to give thanks to people, and the donations have been flowing in. And in these tough times, we wanted to make it affordable so that people could say, I participated. That's the main goal, is for people to say, I participated, I connected to the Flying Squirrels on opening day. So $25 for a base. And if somebody wants to sponsor an entire lap, that's $100. So we're going to do some things with the scoreboard. It's going to be on the Flying Squirrels YouTube channel so people can see. This is really important. People can see the diamond on opening day. Really, really important that people know about that.
What is the YouTube channel called? Is it just Flying Squirrels?
Yeah, I knew you were going to ask me something I didn't know. I don't know. But it's on our
Go to
website.
The website, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
go to our website. That's my answer to everything. Go to our website, squirrelsbaseball.com. But then we're going to take the money from Flying Squirrels charities and we're going to donate that and more to different COVID-19 fighting organizations. Some will be organizations, and then some will just be buying food and taking it to hospitals, buying food and taking it to first responders. There'll be an organizational component, and then just a good old-fashioned, down-to-earth, grassroots thank you program. That we'll be doing as a result of this. But I think sports is what you do for a living. It's what I do for a living, and sports can really be a healing component during times of trouble. Remember back to 9/11. I mean, how big sports was, bringing the country back together, and that's the whole weird thing about this, is we're not actually allowed to be together. So I think that this particular program that we worked on it's going to work quite nicely in virtually bringing hopefully thousands of people together at 6:35 in the morning. My daughter said, Dad, why 6:35 in the morning? They're 22 and 25, not exactly people that like to be up at 6:30 in the morning.
I got a 6-year-old, so I'll probably be up to watch.
I was going to say, unless they're still out from the night before, especially the one that lives in Myrtle Beach, but but the reason we started at 6:35 in the morning is because 6:35 p.m. was supposed to be the game, and we wanted to do something in the morning where people could get up early and start the day with the Flying Squirrels. One of the special things for me personally about opening day is all the local media TV stations come out and they use their 4 o'clock, 4:30 a.m. I don't know if you ever worked those hours when you were in TV, but the 4:30 to 7 a.m. show, they all come out and it's just like media row on opening day here in Richmond. We wanted to give them something to do that. We wanted to give them something that the media could cover that would bring positivity and shine a light. I'll have my crazy pants. Nutsy will be there. It won't be like a game, but it'll be like a game.
You know, it's the positivity, and that's kind of been, we've already mentioned that term multiple times, but you know, watching the local news here, Richmond, wherever you are in Virginia, they're going to talk about the coronavirus, but it's finding those stories that kind of take your mind off of it for a bit. And now your mind's going to be taken off of it quite a bit. I know the stats, but tell people how long 500 bases is. Like, what's that distance?
Well, it's about 8.3 miles ish. I've been training at 8.5. But I'm going to have
how many training days so far?
Not a ton. I mean, we announced this last Thursday. I knew we were going to do it last Tuesday. So I went on the front end of it a little bit harder, and I'm using the philosophy like I don't know any marathoners, but I'll work out pretty hard today, and then tomorrow I'll take it a little bit easier. And I don't eat carbs anymore, but I'll probably carb up just because I heard that's what you're supposed to do.
You need that energy.
On Wednesday night. And then, we'll be at the ballpark. And by we, I mean a very small group of people, but we'll be at the ballpark setting everything up at 4 a.m. So it's kind of for us too, because I want opening day for us to be as normal as possible. And for me, there were days in my career, Will, where I never left the ballpark from the day before. When we were in Altoona, for example, I had a run of like 7 consecutive years where I just worked right through the night, and I loved it. It was a real like adrenaline rush for me. And you go to the sheets in Altoona,
I love sheets.
the sheets there on Plank Road. You've probably been there many a time.
Super sheets.
Yep, and. I would go there and people would go, "Oh, you're getting to work so early." And I'd be, "Oh, I haven't even left yet. You kidding me? It's opening day." But I'm just spreading the love of opening day. It's always been important to me in my career. And we'll still be doing that. And I just think that we all have to hope and pray that this thing gets through and everybody continues to say, or as many people as can continue to stay as safe as possible. Because it's a very real thing. People are sick, people are dying, and that's horrifically sad. And I think we are affecting it. I think by us, staying inside and doing what the experts tell us to do, that's making an impact. But from the baseball standpoint, from the community organization standpoint, if we can make some people smile, if I could say some things that are halfway funny on Thursday and people are watching on our YouTube channel, or if we can have a few stories that we tell that are meaningful, and we will, particularly one story about our general manager, Ben Rothrock, who is he's basically a miracle. Some of the things he's overcome in 2020 so far. So there'll be some seriousness of it. Nobody knows this. You're the first person I'm saying this to. There'll be a tribute to Virginia Tech on the 32nd lap. Because that is also the day of the horrific shooting at Virginia Tech on April the 16th. There'll be some other tributes that are personal to me as well that we'll be making throughout. So we have a lot of work to do, but it's literally going to be like a little show.
That's great, and one, you're doing it for coronavirus relief and the relief efforts going on up in Richmond, but hearing how you're going to, do a tribute to Tech, and you're going to shout out all of the people who have supported. One, how can people support? You may have already mentioned it, but I want to make sure they get that again. And two, is there any level of support that gets you to bust out a home run trot on one of those trips around the bases?
I don't know, not early, maybe later on when I see the light at the end of the tunnel. So if you're texting, people can text bases of love. Bases of love. They can text that to 76278. So text bases of love to 76278. Or they can go to basesoflove.givesmart.com. That's basesoflove.givesmart.com. $25 to virtually sponsor a base, $100 a lap, but honestly, you can give anything, and we'll appreciatively take it. Also, I want to mention, Will, because your viewers are either in the sports industry or sports fans, later on that day from 2 to 6, our friend Wes McElroy from 9:10 a.m. The Fan is going to be doing a 4-hour Squirrels telethon. And he's calling it Bringing It Home. And he's got some different programs set up during that 4 hours, and I'll be on with him the entire 4 hours. And we have a guest list that I'm going to say is pretty daggone good. Throughout a lot of huge Virginia sports personalities. Can't say Virginia sports personality without saying Elliott Sadler, right?
Yeah, he is a personality.
and a great friend of ours who's my brother from a different mother. And then we have some national celebrities that are going to be on with us from 2 to 6. People like Will the Thrill Clark, future Hall of Famer Bruce Bochy is going to be on the show. ESPN's Carl Ravitch, talking to him about opening nights and what it's been like for him to call them on ESPN. And Ravi and I go back almost 30 years of friendship. And when he was in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, actually, as a weekend sports anchor at WHCN Channel 27. And that friendship's just continued through the years. And we're going to talk to him a little bit about that. And then, local celebrities, Lou DeBella, our owner, and Boxing Hall of Fame inductee will be on there. So it'll be a good show from 2 to 6 on Thursday at 9:10 a.m. The Fan here in Richmond.
You obviously have a very busy day planned for Thursday then, which would have been opening day for the Richmond Flying Squirrels. We'll put all of this information out so everybody knows exactly how they can support, how they can watch. I think it's a wonderful thing. We do want to get you out of here. We do have one baseball question that came in. It's from Mark here in Chesapeake, and it's regarding a local player from Chesapeake and JMU, Kyle McPherson. Mark wants to know, does Kyle have a good shot of making the jump to AA and the Squirrels middle infield in 2020, assuming they're playing games?
So I try to follow that stuff closely because I consider myself a Virginian now. We've been here 11 years, and even on vacation, we go to Sandbridge Beach, and we're looking to buy a home actually in Sandbridge. Hopefully at some point when things slow down. I know the name. Here's the problem, and this is why I can't answer the question. Right when COVID hit, our players were just starting to get separated into teams in spring training. So they hadn't played any games yet, and a lot of the AAA guys were still at the big leagues. But I am familiar with that name. Obviously, we've had some JMU players come through and play against us at the Diamond in the past, and we enjoy it when the local guys come and play against us. We also enjoy it when we have the rare treat to have a local guy play on our team, like Matt Wynn. Went to Tucker High School here in Richmond, and then went to VMI as an intercollegiate baseball player. Connor Overton went to, I think, Douglas Freeman High School here in Richmond and Old Dominion. And we had both of those guys on our roster for the last 2 years, I think. And Matt is still working out. He's back home now from spring training. He's working out at the Diamond when he can, doing long toss with a couple of guys. So hopefully Kyle will be with us. If he's not going to be here this year, we'll be following him. It's going to be really different to see how it all flows, right? Because guys that would normally have spring training to make a roster aren't probably going to have that time
Mm-hmm.
to make a roster. So and a lot of it's going to be how big the rosters are going to be and all that kind of stuff. So there's like I tell everybody every day, there's a whole lot more questions than there are answers right now. I mean, a whole lot.
Tons of them. You know,
we just got to keep going through it.
Don't want to hold you up too long, but yeah, you're right. I mean, when this hit in spring training, you know, if you're a big league manager, you pretty much know all the slots, save for one or two. You know the guys that are going to be on your team. You're a double A manager. You really probably don't know 80% of the team that you're going to have on opening day. So these guys, it's still very fluid. And those are the guys that you really kind of feel for because this is their livelihood. You know, they're trying to get to that point where they can really make a living off of it. But, you know, these are 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old kids, and they don't know exactly when that next check is coming in. So for their sake, we really do hope that this gets better sooner.
Well, that's a great point too, because if you have friends that you know that are in the minor leagues that live in your area, if you're viewing this, people talk a whole lot about how much money the major leaguers make, but they don't talk about how little the minor leaguers make. Mm-hmm. And so if you know some of those guys, please help them out during this time as they're trying to figure out. I think Major League Baseball is paying them through the end of May, I think, the spring training stipend. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, hopefully we'll be able to get going. It's funny, I keep looking to my right, my phone's over here, and our manager, Jose Alguacil, just texted me right when you mentioned the Double-A manager has no idea who's going to be on his team. It popped up. Augie was texting me to check in on me to see how we're doing. There's a lot of that goes on in our world, in the baseball world. People having each other's back and checking on each other, making sure people are doing okay. So that's a real compliment.
Oh, did we lose him? Okay, good. Okay, good. Sorry, you froze just a second there. Well, real quick, again, 500 Bases of Love, Thursday morning, April 16th, 6:35 a.m. You can go to the YouTube channel. Again, go to the website to find the YouTube channel. Parney will be walking 500 bases that day, raising money for COVID-19 relief efforts in Richmond. Then later that day, 9:10 a.m. with 9:10 a.m. radio with Wes McElroy. You'll do kind of a telethon to continue raising that money, and there'll be a lot of special guests. It should be a really great day, and we're happy that you're able to do something on opening day here in Virginia. So, Parney, it's been a pleasure catching up with you, and hopefully the next time we talk, it's about games actually being played.
Let's do it, and I appreciate everything that you're doing there. I have a lot of friends that are in your Hall of Fame. Rob Ukrop is one of them, and he just texted me as well. Mike Cubbage.
He's supposed to go in next week, but now we don't know exactly when that's going to be.
Well, Mike Cubbage is a very, 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 very dear friend of mine. So we really respect what you guys are doing there. It's very important to have the legacy of the great athletes that have been in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So thank you for everything you're doing, and we hope to see everybody out at the Diamond here soon. I don't want to give a shout out to my buddy Joe Gregory from the Norfolk Tides that's right down the street, pretty close to where you're at too. So thank you for having me today. I look forward to seeing you again real soon, and have fun. Go Nuts.
All right. Thank you, Parney. Again, you can follow him on Twitter @TweetParney, and you can follow the Squirrels @GoSquirrels. Again, I'd like to thank everyone who tuned in. We had a good turnout today. As always, thanks to our partners, Priority Automotive, City of Virginia Beach, Optima Health, and ESPN Radio 94.1. You'll be able to find this video in the video section of our Facebook page. Be sure to follow the Hall of Fame on all of our platforms @VA Sports HOF. Once again, I'm Will Driscoll with the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. Hoping everybody stays safe, stays healthy, and enjoy opening day on Thursday, April 16th, the best way you can. Thanks, everybody.